Greetings, Warzone kids. Maybe this is part 5 of part 6 of Logos Mythos Moo. But I just wanted to say a few other words on, the way I closed the last one was musing on what is it that follows from this idea of, Sankara being empty. And my first shot at that was, well, the rest of Zen follows from that. But when you hear, let me put a little bit more meat on that bone in terms of what it means to this Zen practitioner Warzone kid. I bring no credentials or titles to bear on that. I would not even say that I'm a Zen Buddhist. I don't know exactly what that means. I'm a practitioner of Zen. Well, if you think, what do you think about these Sankara being empty and the mental formations just being mental formations? And take the idea of essence. I mean, what is the essence of things? Things have an essence. That right there is the spot where Dogen would most radically part ways with Aristotle and Western philosophy. There's a question in Western philosophy that you will come across if you look into it for a while in the contemporary times, where the philosophers will discuss, is philosophy possible? I mean, what does that mean? Of course, you can write a history of David Hume or something. Yeah, it's a work of, to be shelved in philosophy in the library. But is philosophy possible? They would say, is reality such a thing that it's possible to figure out and nail it down and get the essence of it right? And in words, in philosophy, in Sankara, is philosophy possible? Is the universe that kind of a thing? I will tell you, it's, open question in Western philosophy, but not really. I mean, people don't act like it's an open question. They go on doing philosophy. But Dogen, I think this is where they would part rows. Dogen would say, no, philosophy is not possible, not in the way that you mean. Philosophy is not just a word that means thinking about things. Philosophy means philosophia, love of wisdom. And wisdom there, in the Sophia sense, has just got to mean, and you do too much violence to the concept of Sophia, of wisdom. You do violence to it unless you're by trying to hide the fact that the idea of Sophia in Western philosophy is inextricably tied up with the idea that you can capture the essence of things with some kind of truth. That's possible. That's a thing to do. That you can draw a line between philosophical utterances and the cosmos, and that line can be firm and black and bold. There's a line between there. Philosophical utterances, the love of wisdom, the wisdom would be philosophical utterances that are true, that are in their essence true. And the cosmos has an essence, and philosophical utterances have essences, and both of those essences are logoi aletheia, or something like that. The true logos. They have truth. I've just embarrassed myself with my made-up Greek grammar. I think that's right. Logos aletheia. The true logos. That's what it's got to mean to say philosophy is possible. It's got to mean something like that. But Dogen would say no. In that case, philosophy is not possible. Because mental formations are mental formations, and the cosmos is the cosmos. And you can have mental formations like the triangle and like the triangular gable on the roof I'm going to drive past in a few minutes. But that's it. Philosophy, not possible. The cosmos is going to be the cosmos. And, that's that. Philosophy, not possible. Because in essence, essences are not things that exist in the thing that you're talking about. Dogen, I believe, no, leave poor Dogen out of it. He's done nothing to me. I'll do nothing to him. I would say that when you look at a dog and you say, this is the essence of a dog, this is the essence of whatever concept it is, that's in your mind. The dog has no essence to it. The dog is just a dog. The essences are mental formations. Thus it is with everything else. Thus it is with human beings. So when there's a lot of artificially mystical sounding, I will say, drivel about using the word self, the universal self, it's all our self, stuff like that. I get it. I mean, try writing about it without falling into some pit or another of language. But that idea, all that's got to basically come down to the idea that, yes, we imagine, ourself as having an essence. That essence is our mental formation. Triangle, the idea of the triangle and the triangular gable, that's good enough. I know what a triangle is. I see a triangular gable. I don't have to get into a platonic realms of perfect forms of triangles. Leave all that aside. I have an idea of myself. Of course I'm the same self in every everyday sense as I was. I've been looking in the mirror since I was a child. It's always me looking back. But the notion of that as myself, of the bend that persists through time and all that, yeah, that's a mental formation. I mean, like George Washington's axe. This axe belonged to George Washington. We changed the head 3 times and the handle twice. The Theseus ship, in which every element of the ship's been replaced. The rigging, the mast, the planking, the spars, all that. But it's still the same ship. Why? Because in essence it is. Like that kind of thing. Well, that's where, you can say that falls apart, essence. There's not a single scrap, there's not a single atom of that ship's the same. The essence of the ship is the same. Now, that's the thing in your mind. The sankhara in your mind, telling you that essence exists. It would be something like that. Would be where Dogen and Aristotle would just have to decide to quietly drink their sake and wine at their symposium. And from that flows on, my views on the world. Let us say, I grew up as a Ronald Reagan American. When I was a kid, I went to my daddy took me to watch T-38s light their afterburners and take off from a runway down at Tinker Field. I'm a Ronald Reagan American by birth and by the part of the country I came up from. That means a certain set of things to me that I'm well aware relate to nostalgia in my childhood and a time in life when the world had some sense to it and all stuff like that. Well, is that true? No. Those are mental formations in my mind. How much am I going to bring that into the present with me? I was not a gay man in the 80s, watching everyone I knew slain down by AIDS, while Ronald Reagan tottered around delivering one-liners. And that also is a set of sankhara. Ronald Reagan just was whatever Ronald Reagan was. The United States is whatever it is. But if you know that, if you have a perception that there's not a true answer to what was Ronald Reagan really, what was Ronald Reagan's America really, your quest for the true answer to that question has no more answer than your quest to answer the question of, was that dress green and gold or yellow and purple? And I think I've successfully never said the same selection of colors twice. They are equivalent. There's not a true answer. Sankhara have no true answer. So if you live that way in the world, if you approach that way in the world, why are you gonna hand over your feelings, your perceptions, and your forms you see, and your happiness and your well-being? Why are you going to make all that hostage to one's dedication to the idea that the sankhara in your head are true or false, or that there's real ones and you can find the real one? I have discovered Soto Zen. It is the true answer. No. Soto Zen is Soto Zen. It's a set of Sankara. The Heart Sutra is empty. It says in the Heart Sutra, this is the Great Sutra, the Supreme Sutra, the Brilliant Sutra. Proclaim it. It is a sutra that is true and not false. That is Sankara. I do not think that even after Dogen polished off his sake and Aristotle's wine, I do not think he would say, okay, now I'm going to tell you the true answer here. It's all empty Sankara except for the Heart Sutra. That steps outside of empty Sankara, and that possesses an essence that persists through time, and that essence is true, but don't tell anyone. I don't think he would say that. I think he would say, here's a fine example of something that is very much true, in the same way that it is a true fact of the cosmos that the gable on this roof coming up here is triangular. And a triangle is a three-sided figure. Those are true. Those are empty Sankara, and those empty Sankara are true. And if that messes you up and sounds contradictory, that's because you're looking for a logos in a place where logos ain't to be found. Logic are the rules for operating properly on Sankara. That's great. But we're talking about the cosmos here. Sankara are empty. It's the Sankara that are contradictory, not the universe. The cosmos is not contradictory. The cosmos is also not non-contradictory. The cosmos is not the kind of thing that could be said to be contradictory or non-contradictory. The cosmos is the cosmos. You see, slippery. But you can get your footing under you by remembering that we're talking about Sankara, which are empty. And yet, the Heart Sutra is true, not false. Oh, see? Something like that, I believe, my experience as a reader and practitioner, is that something like that is kind of as close as I know to a kind of a skeleton key for grokking what is going on in Zen writing of the highest caliber. Dogen. And it's just a fact, you know, when you read Dogen has such an infectious writing style that he's the kind of writer that it's almost, you know, you find yourself imitating him. Nabokov is like that. Let's leave Nabokov out of it, I'm sorry. There's some kind of writers that you can't help. Their style is so infectious, and you can get a sense of what Dogen is doing. I'm not even saying that my Sankara about Dogen are just my Sankara about Dogen, that this guy brings to bear based on the Sankara in my head, which have been looking into philosophical writing for some time. It's not true. I've not delivered the truth about it. I've shared my experience as a reader. There. I think that's all the elaboration that idea needs, as a way that what follows, what flows from the idea of the skanda, the five skandhas being empty, and why that notion of form and emptiness and the emptiness of all the Sankara are at the very heart of the Heart Sutra, and why the Heart Sutra is at the heart of Zen, and why Dogen, when he writes the way he writes, why he writes the way he writes. Somehow or another, Dogen, I believe, is writing and talking to those monastics in between sitting on their cushions. Remember, that's what most of the Shobogenzo is. He's making utterances, I believe, with the view in mind of giving the minds of his listeners, the consciousness, the 5 skandhas of his listeners, a chance to assemble some of those sankhara themselves in their own mind that allow them to experience their forms they see as just forms, perceptions as just perceptions, feelings as just feelings, and sankhara as just sankhara. And in so doing, to find some degree of freedom from suffering. Suffering being mired in the quest, among other things, to draw firm, fat, thick, bold, black lines between what you think in here, on the inside of your eyeballs, and what goes on out there in the cosmos. Because almost universally, we would prefer to believe that whatever it is that we have in here is the true thing, the real thing. And we try and try and try and try to make that out there obey this in here. And it ain't never gonna happen. Best thing you can do, sit on your cushion, look at the wall, and observe what comes your way when you let this in here, these 5 skandha in here, mirror the emptiness of the cosmos out there. It all just is what it is. I think that's what Dogen's getting at. I think that's why he writes the way he writes. And I think that's enough. It's a great day on the trail, Pilgrim. We still got plenty of time to get in a few more miles today. Let's walk them together. It's a good day to have a pal. Daylight's burning.